Hello guys, and welcome back to our latest part of our training seminar. Today we're going to be talking about resistance training, and the tagline that we are going to be using today is it's the staple of your progress. And resistance training, we could do a whole 10-part series just on resistance training, but I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible because the importance with resistance training is, whether it's you designing a workout on your own or whether it's us designing a workout for you or a good fitness coach, you do need direction with resistance training because there are millions of different workouts out there. There's really not one workout that is more superior than the other, but some basic things that we're going to cover today, there are probably a very large majority of the workouts that work very well, but they all have their own purpose in mind. They all work for different phases and different goals in mind. And as a mentor to me once said, that all workouts usually work until they stop working. And then it's at that point when they need to be adjusted and changed. So I'm going to give you some just basic frameworks for resistance training today. And then after that, then I would encourage you, talk to a coach, contact us, have a good structured resistance training program that's going to help you match your vision. Because the resistance training program is the strategy, but we want to make sure that it matches the vision that you have for yourself. So why do we say it's the staple of your progress? Because really when you think about it, there's tremendous benefit to everything we're talking about. Cardiovascular activity, true core training, balance, stability, flexibility, all of that stuff is very, very important, but it all comes down to the building of lean muscle tissue in your body. And building lean muscle tissue in your body is very important for a number of reasons. First and foremost, it's what stabilizes your joints. It's what stabilizes the structure of your body. Whenever you see someone with very poor posture, it can be usually a combination of being overweight or carrying excessive weight and weakened muscle, because the stronger you are, typically the more stability that you're going to have to joints and to the structure of your body. So first and foremost, that's, having a strong muscular body is important for that reason. It can decrease risk of osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, numerous different things that generally will keep your heart stronger. But for the most part, it helps to stabilize your structure and your joints. And secondly, one of the things that resistance training does is we all know about what's called metabolism. We all know that we want a fast metabolism. We have a fast metabolism and we're not going to get fat and stuff like that. And so what resistance training does is, by the building of lean tissue on your body, there's something called your resting metabolic rate. Some people call it your basic metabolic rate. But your resting metabolic rate means that your body has to burn calories in order to just perform basic body functions, such as just resting. In order to maintain muscle tissue, in order to do just basic body functions, your body has to burn calories. And it can burn up to 70% of your total calories output. It can be your resting metabolic rate. So you can burn a substantial amount of calories just by functioning and your body needing to do basic metabolic functions. So when we look at changing the ratio of fat and muscle, the more body fat that your body is stored, it does not take a lot of energy or calories in order to sustain body fat. Now, we spend a lot of work trying to get rid of body fat. We have to work and work and work to get rid of it. But in order to sustain it, in order for it to function, in order for it to keep where it is, it doesn't take a significant amount of calories in order to maintain it. Where lean muscle, by the way, it takes a significantly more energy in order to just maintain your muscle. So just having more muscle on your body, more lean skeletal muscle, it increases your resting metabolic rate because your body has to work harder in order just to maintain basic body functions because of the added lean muscle tissue. So having increasing muscle keeps your body healthy, stable, functional, and stable with your joints and basic structure. It also helps to have a better metabolism by increasing your basic metabolic rate or your resting metabolic rate. And the other thing that's really important about muscle is muscle takes up half the space of what fat does. It's more dense. So if you're adding muscle and losing fat, we have seen it countless times where people don't necessarily change their body weight, but if they're adding muscle and losing fat, they're actually getting smaller because fat takes up more space. A pound of fat may take up this, a pound of muscle may take up that amount of space. So the weight may be the same, but the distribution of adding muscle and losing fat is making someone appear smaller and more toned because the composition of their body is changing. So that is why we call it the staple of your progress. In order to build lean muscle tissue, you need to do resistance training. Putting resistance or exterior load on your body that you're having to work and move in order to build muscle. We all know that as weight training. It can be done through CrossFit training, body weight training like through a TRX, kettlebell training, you name it. It's something that's an exterior force that you're having to move, which is causing your body to build lean muscle. And there's a few different things that we want to look at, a few different principles before I talk about the final stages of resistance training. And the first thing that we want to talk about is adaptation. And something I've written down is that adaptation is where your body adapts or adjusts its functional capacity to meet its desired goals. So another way to look at that is your body is continually adapting to what its external source is, and so that your body will become, how does that old saying go? A body in motion tends to stay in motion, a body at rest tends to stay at rest, because your body is going to continually adapt to its external surroundings. So if you're training hard, if you're exercising, if you're doing resistance training, your body will adapt to that and therefore build more muscle to adapt to that surrounding. If you're sedentary in nature and you're sitting around, your body will adapt to that and it won't require as much muscle to perform those activities, and so therefore it will have less muscle because it's not required to move a load as much as needed. And that's something where your body is continuously adapting to. It also will adapt to your training. So if you do the same training over and over and over again, your body will adapt and adjust to any sort of training that you're doing. And it goes into what we'll talk about in a second, periodization training. But let's first talk about a principle called the SAID principle, S-A-I-D. And it stands for the principle of specific adaptation of imposed demands. And essentially it goes back to what I was saying before, is your body adapting to whatever demands are being put on it. So your body will continuously try to adapt to whatever state that it's in. It will try to adapt to weather. It will try to adapt to external loads by the size of your body. Your body puts on fat because you're putting extra food in it, and therefore it will adapt to your surroundings as far as food is concerned, and so on and so forth. But it is the principle of SAID that we really want to understand that our body adapts to everything. It adapts to the training that we're doing. So it's very important to do what we call periodization training. Small progressions over stages. Is that if you keep doing the same thing over, go back to what I said about effective training programs. All workouts work until they stop working, because they'll stop working as your body gets adjusted and adapted to it, or as your mind gets adjusted and adapted to things. So that's why it's incredibly important to do what we call periodization, to have small progressive steps over stages in things that your body will not adjust to, continuously going through different stages. So what are some of the stages? How can you do periodization training? Well, we've already mapped out through the NASM protocol the three different phases: stability, strength, and power. And each of those, stability has one phase that we incorporate, plus the corrective exercise phase. Strength has three different phases that we incorporate. And power has one phase plus an additional phase called the maximal power phase. And they each are a little bit different. They each are progressive in nature. They each have their own stages. And you're like, well, how can I change my training based on, how can I do different types of resistance training? How can I use different periodizations in my training? Well, there's all different things that can change in your training. We can change the total reps, the number of repetitions that we do. So let's look at this principle for a second. Let's take a basic chest press. And let's look at the different variations that we can have. Well, we can change the total reps that a chest press has. We can change how many times we do it. We can change the total number of sets. How many different sets are we doing to complete that particular movement? We can change the intensity, the amount of load that we're putting on that particular, for the chest press. How much weight are we going to actually be lifting, which consequently will then change the amount of reps and sets. We can look at the tempo. How are we going to change the tempo? What is the speed of the rep? How many of you guys actually test the speed of your rep? Well, based on the period that you're in, based on the phase that you're in, we look at changing the tempo of your repetitions. So we can change the tempo or the speed of your reps. We can change the rest in between sets, how long you're resting in between sets. And a couple other things that we can change is we can change the stability or the balance of the set. You don't just have to sit down on a bench and push a barbell or dumbbells. You don't have to sit on a machine and do this. We can get you to stand, and that's going to change the balance and stability. We can get you to stand on one leg and do chest presses. We can alternate your arms. We can get you to stand on unstable surfaces such as a balance pad, a Bosu ball, a reverse Bosu ball. We can use different things such as kettlebells, TRX bands, all different types of things that are going to challenge your function, the dynamic of that functional capacity, and the different types of balance and stability. We can also change the plane of motion. We don't just have to go like this. We can use medicine balls and rotate and spin and twist and use our chest. We can go side to side. We can change the plane of motions. So those are all ways in which periodization can change. And our next phase that we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to put it all together. But I just want to give you a rationale on how resistance training, why it's important, and what things can change. You can also change the way you do your sets. There's let's list some of the different ones right here. There's a single set principle where you do just one set at a time. There's a multiple set principle where you do multiple sets of one at a time. There's a pyramid principle where you start off with lower reps, higher reps, lower weight, and build that up where the reps decrease and the weight increases. We can superset exercises where we take back-to-back or multiple or giant set exercises where we take 2 or more exercises and put them back-to-back. We can do circuit training where we take multiple exercises from different body parts and do them all together. We can do what's called peripheral heart action training where we alternate upper and lower body exercises to change blood flow and so forth. We can do split training where we don't train the whole body one day, where we train only certain body parts on certain days. We can do vertical loading, which means that we can do multiple exercises up and down, or horizontal loading, meaning that we stay on one exercise until all the sets are created. I want to tell you about all this because I want you to understand the importance of resistance training, number one, and number two, the different variations that you can do. And this will seem very overwhelming, but the great news is a good certified fitness professional, or us, which are also certified professionals, will have a plan in place for you on how to avoid that adaptation, to how to properly incorporate periodization training so you continually see new results, so you continually are pressing forward and not adapting to the training that you're doing, and that you continually see the results that you're looking for to match the vision that you have. I hope that gives you a base on resistance training. I hope that we can teach you more about it, or that you can hook up with a good fitness professional in your area. And I look forward to our last 2 final presentations in the training seminar series.
When you feel that something's wrong, I'll shelter you and keep you warm. I'll never let you walk alone.